noon break version of my world. This is September 15th, it's Tuesday. So this morning, Greg, that's really good. We have a lot of comedians in this room. Anyway, um, this morning we had a lot of stuff from overnight that just didn't look too promising for today, but that always turns around. Gold that had done very well overnight has pulled back, and crude oil that was in a bit of a chop all morning. I found crude oil this morning quite difficult to trade, but true to its form, when it's been very, very bad with a jerk for a bus driver in the morning, we tend to get a better bus driver in the afternoon. So if you notice, if you remember, just before the contract rolled the last time, and just the week before Labor Day, we were seeing huge volume in crude oil. I mean, it was in the, at one time it was over 600,000 contracts. That is enormous amount of contracts. So the volume has come back down to a little more normal in this about 200,000 range. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about these shadow bars. The reason I'm experimenting with these bars is that once we get the new NinjaTrader version, our diagnostic candles are not going to be available to us. So I'm trying to get my eyes, as well as everybody else's, adjusted to what's going to come as a changeover we're going to have to make. So right now I'm still finding these 6-tick. I love these diagnostic bars and diagnostic candles so much. I'm trying to break myself away from those things. So if anybody has a good idea, we're getting some nice screenshots with some ideas. I think if we can settle on something that seems to work for everybody, that's easy to see. I found this morning that TF, which is my secondary market to go to when crude oil is behaving badly, and I did not like any of this stuff in the morning. I'll set my cursor to the pointer. From right in here at what time was this? About 7-ish in the morning. This whole bunch of stuff until 9, it's very difficult to trade. At least for me it is. So I started looking more at the indices. My favorite one is TF, and it behaved very well today. So I don't know if they changed the bus drivers around or what, but hopefully crude oil will start to be a little easier to trade, because when it is easy, it's very, very nice. A lot of people in this room, I think, trade the NQ. So if you're finding your favorite chart settings and your favorite trades in there, be sure to post those charts so everybody can take a look at them. I'm noticing noticing bonds have been falling, and the dollar is rising along with all the indices that have gone up. Some of these pundits that belong in the brain trust are telling people to buy bonds and get out of stocks. At this point, I keep reminding myself, so I'll remind you. Those people get paid to talk. They don't get paid to be right. And them talking gets more people in trouble by paying attention to them than the other way around. So disregard all the talking heads and pay attention to your apex indicators and what's happening that you can make money from, because that's really the main thing. Everybody should also, I wanted to remind you, everybody has been getting these pop-ups from Ninja reminding us that the CME is going to change the closing hours on the indices. That's the mini contracts, which we all trade, as well as the big contracts, which the institutional traders, I mean, that takes enormously deep pockets. So the changeover is going to happen next Monday, and I'll try and put a notice up. But I know I mentioned earlier that getting earnings whispers and taking advantage of some of the news trades in the NQ for all the NQ traders would be a good thing for that last 15 minutes when a major stock in that NQ basket has earnings. There's some nice trades the last 15 minutes. Those will no longer be available after this week because the electronic trading market will close at 4 o'clock. No longer will it close at 4:15. So for those of you trading these E-minis right up until 0 hour, you need to you need to pay attention to that and be out of those trades before the stroke of 4 o'clock, or you're going to get hit with an overnight margin. Mike asked the question, does that mean there are no more 4:15 trades on Nadex? That I'm not sure, Mike. They're pretty good about posting things when they make changes, but you might want to call them and find out if Nadex is going to continue those. That I do not know. But Larry raises a good point too, that now we may see a big rush at 3:45 where we used to see the big rush at 4 o'clock going into 4:15. That'll be an interesting thing to watch and see what happens. But I know there are going to be some traders that get caught with all of a sudden they have a big margin call for an overnight margin when they did not realize that this was happening. And the difference between $500 for your E-mini margin now and holding that thing overnight where you're going to get $3,000 to $5,000 margin to hold it overnight is going to make a significant difference to all of us, what I refer to as we little people. So that's about all I see for right now. I find it very interesting that crude oil is painting these red apexes above. All morning it's been above settlement and above the ice green line. This is what I call mixed messages. And that's one of the reasons when you get mixed messages, you're going to find some of these markets very difficult to trade. So either find another market or come back another day, because it doesn't last. It's just what's happening this particular day at this particular time. So with that, I'll remind you that this is simply my view from my world in Apex land, and it's brought to you by Apex Investing.